Welcome to episode 423 of Salcedo Paranormal, and tonight I am sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them at a later date. So, thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or you listen on the podcast or YouTube feeds, or if you catch the show on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. You can hear 2 episodes, replays of the show every night. They're at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange of Troubled Minds Radio, and Liam Martin, also known as Rohan, of the Exile Minds podcast, for producing the show, putting in all the music that you hear at the beginning and end of every episode when you listen on the station, and also just for putting the shows up on the station as well. If you'd like to support the show and help with expenses such as research materials and equipment and travel expenses, again, I will be attending the Mid-Michigan Paracon this year. If you'd like to help with any of that, there are a few different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others, rate and review the show on your podcast platform of choice. Also, I've written some paranormal fiction and nonfiction books you all can check out on Amazon. Or you can make direct donations to the show through either PayPal or Venmo or Patreon. And looking forward to, within the next couple months or so, having Patreon exclusive content over there. So I'll let you all know once that goes live, but the tiers are already set up there, the levels of support. So and all those links can always be found in the episode description and on the podcast page. And help is never expected, but always appreciated. So the first story I have for today is one that was sent in. So I'll be reading that first, and then we'll go to the other stories that I found online and read as many of those as I can. So let me get to that file here. Again, thank you all for listening and being here. So the story says, let me see here. Okay. At my grandmother's wake, I was sitting in the back of the home with my sister and my cousin's wife. A lady who was obviously a relative due to her appearance. She looked just like my great-grandmother. Same stature, same bright blue eyes. Came in the door of the church and stopped next to me. She asked if anyone got RH's lockbox from my grandparents' home. Side note, it was set to be torn down as the property was sold. My sister, mother, and I had just gone to the house knowing it was about to be destroyed, and went through to salvage anything that relatives may want for sentimental value. Everything of perceived monetary value had already been sold. When I was in the house, I felt drawn to look under one of the beds. There was a lockbox. I opened it and searched through the treasures. An illegitimate child of my great-aunt was raised by my grandparents. No one knew, or just didn't talk about him. The box was filled with his military memorabilia from World War II and some personal items. His name was R.H., and again I'm using initials here, which is odd, as the name of one of my uncles is also R.H., a generation younger. I took the box, as I couldn't bear it lying in the rubble of a torn-down home. Regardless, I never knew the man. I told the woman that I had R's box. She already seemed to know, and smiled. She told me to keep it safe. She also said that my dad used to ride a horse over to her house, and she had a nice picture of him on the horse, and asked if I wanted it. I said, of course, I would love to have it. She said her name was M.E., and she would bring me the picture the next day, which was the day of the funeral. When I got in the car after the wake, I told my parents that M.E. told me she was bringing a picture of Dad to the funeral the next day. Dad acted weird and asked what M.E. looked like. I told him she looked just like great-grandma. M again. The bright blue eyes were unmistakable. I could tell she was a relative. Dad said that when she came, he wanted to see her, but she didn't show up at the funeral and didn't give me the picture of my dad on his horse. After that, Dad told me that M was his aunt, but she had passed. He did ride his horse to her house, and that they were sort of well off for the time. And she probably had a camera, so there might be a picture. After the fact, my sister and my cousin's wife also said they saw a lady talking to me who looked like a relative. I still have the box. Over the years, I've had a lot of things move in my house. I no longer wear earrings because I can't, but I used to find earrings lying everywhere. M and my great-grandma were known for loving jewelry. I started just laughing and attributing it to the haunted box. There hasn't been any movement recently, but I am glad to have seen and talked to Mary. She was as beautiful as my great-grandma, and was just wanting to make sure a relative cared for her son's memory. So that's where that story ends. That's amazing that there was the people that were involved were in the middle of sort of dealing with the passing of one relative and saw the spirit, even though they didn't know it, of another that they didn't even know directly. And then turns out the spirit seemed to know what the writer had done, and was happy about it, which is always good. And I wonder if the part about the picture was more of sort of a sign that, or a message in and of itself, that this M.E. Wanted the writer to pass along to their father, just in telling them what M.E. had told them. It seems like it's possible. And so, and then having there being movement of objects in the house, after getting the box. I wonder what that's about, if it's because of residual energy or I don't know. Hard to say with all that. But that's really amazing, and I'm glad that it was overall not a negative, as far as I can tell anyway, negative experience at all from based on the story there, and that everything worked out okay overall, and just that these belongings were saved from this house that was going to be torn down, and that feeling that the writer had of being drawn to that room and to that box, it seems. That's also, to me, that says there was possibly some kind of consciousness there. And whether it was ME or someone else or RH, excuse me, I don't know, but it seems like there was something going on there. So, really amazing story. And again, that was sent in. So, if you all have stories of experiences, I'm always happy to share them on the show, as I always say in the beginning. And there's the you can contact me on Discord, or you can reach me on or through email, and that's salsidoparanormal@gmail.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal@gmail.com, and I will read your story, but also make sure that I don't use any specific names, because again, it's about the experience more than it is about names or exact locations. So, amazing story there, and experience. So yeah, let me see here. Moving on to the other stories I have here that I found online. This first one, let's see, I gotta scroll down, there we go. Okay, this one says, years ago, I saw a small white orb outside of my bedroom window. The orb flew past the window in about 5 seconds. 2 seconds later, the orb returned and hovered in place. It seemed to stare at me for 2 seconds before flying away. Initially, I didn't think much of it. Months later, I decided that what I had seen was a UFO. I researched white orbs and learned they are associated with spirits. I wonder if white orbs can change direction and hover before flying away. And that's where the story ends. And just in terms of answering that last question first, orbs seem to be able to do a lot of different things. So I'd say the answer to that is yes, very, very much possibly yes. So that's a neat experience, that feeling. I wonder about that feeling of being stared at, if that was more of a... I wonder how they figured that out. If it was because the orb just hovered there, or if they had an additional sense of a presence there. So, hard to tell with that, but neat story there as well. So, and that is the thing that they mentioned in the article there. We really don't know what these lights are, these spheres of light. It could be, in a way, a UFO. It's an unidentified flying object. And again, as I said before in many shows, people see them in homes, outside, in forests, near near power wires, near the tops of trees. Again, a little while back, I had a story I shared where it seemed that the writer and their friend were able to sense the energy going through trees and going up and out. And so that it was amazing to me when I read that story, because that made me think of those orbs right away. And so yeah, but then also they're seen in the sky, and they're seen in space. So we really have no idea what's going on there, and I think it can be many things. But it's hard to know what in any situation. So excuse me, neat story there. And I think I'll move on to the next one here. So let me see, I have to scroll down. Okay. This one says, my family and I live on a remote farm in England. My bedroom faces the yard at the back. Across from that is a building for the animals. And to the right, there is a large field. Woods surround the farm at the back, and occasionally hikers pass by during the summer. The nearest neighbor was about 2 miles away, making the area secluded at night. One evening, a few years ago, it was dusk, and the field near the woods was pitch black. While closing the curtains in the bedroom, I saw a white figure with a faint glow, standing near the edge of the woods. The field. The figure was looking towards the other end of the field, and then started walking towards the woods. There was a fence at the beginning of the woods that the figure would have had to climb over, but instead it walked and faded away. I never saw the figure again, but now I keep the curtains closed all the time, even before it gets dark. So that sounds like a sighting of some kind of apparition. I'm guessing it was some kind of a light apparition, or if it was all in white, then maybe it was all white clothes. I don't know, but I wonder if it's tied to the history of the land. In terms of either the farm or the forest or the woods. Hard to know either way, but I wonder if they were just coming to check things out, sort of see what was going on there in the present since the last time they'd been there, or since, I don't know. That's sort of the sense I get from it. Maybe they were just stopping by to check on everything, and then they went away. Let me check on this next story here. Yeah, okay. I have time. So that's all I have for that last one. Just seems like someone was just checking on everything and then going away, possibly. That's just the idea. Never know for sure. But so moving on to this next story. It says, this happened on a well-known beach in 2002, maybe 2020. I see I have 202 there. I think there's supposed to be another number there. But anyway. My boyfriend and I were celebrating our 4-year anniversary. We stayed in a beach suite and walked along the beach until around 11 p.m. My boyfriend's stomach was bothering him, so he laid down while I went on the balcony. From the balcony, I observed teenagers partying and shooting off fireworks on the beach below. Then I noticed a distressed-looking middle-aged man wearing a white t-shirt and dark shorts, standing behind the boys who were shooting off the fireworks. The man suddenly turned and ran away from the fireworks, gradually disappearing as he moved further down the beach. I was frozen with shock and tried to calm down before going back to my boyfriend. Throughout the night, we heard strange noises including a slammed toilet seat and rattling dishes. We had a hard time sleeping for the rest of that night. That's for the end of that story. That is odd in a way, because it's almost like it's almost like some kind of a paranormal shockwave. With the man that ran by. I don't know if there's a connection or if it was just a massive energy wave that moved through the area. I wonder. I don't know, but I wonder if it was also partly the writer in that story. Maybe their own energy sort of amplified things, especially if they were afraid. And I don't know. That's an odd one. I feel like usually if you're gonna have things like that happen with the plates rattling and the toilet seat and the unit slamming, you're gonna have the apparition maybe be closer to the place. But maybe the distance doesn't really matter. I don't know. I wonder what the connection is between that man that the writer saw and that unit that they were staying in. Hard to say. But, so yeah, neat story there. I'm hoping that the rest of their trip went well. I mean, but, and I'm guessing it did because the writer didn't say anything about any more activity. So that's what makes me think it was something to do with that apparition. That just bolted off. And it doesn't seem like the apparition, that man that she saw. I wonder, even though it didn't look at her, if it somehow sensed that they had been seen. And that was part of what set off, or if it was the fireworks. But then if they were being set off for a while, then you would think the man would have already been aware of those, unless he just somehow had just arrived there. And then the fireworks actually frightened him. I wonder. Doesn't really. I mean, it says he was wearing a T-shirt and things, so it was somewhat modern clothes. But I mean, if you're appearing right behind fireworks, I would be getting out of there too. I'm sure a lot of people would. But so yeah, I don't know with that one, but the activity in the apartment after, I don't know, some kind of shockwave or echo, some kind of something going on there, but I have no idea how to explain it or what happened there. But I think that's all I have time for stories for tonight. But just a reminder again, I will be at the Mid-Michigan Paracon this year at November 4th and 5th over at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. And that's going to be, I'll be staying there overnight. So if anyone wants to check that place out or go to that convention, I always include the link in the episode description, and would love to meet anyone there that listens to the show that is able to go. So again, I want to thank all the guests that I've had on my show, and because they've all helped so much with making the show what it is now. And yeah, I think that'll cover everything. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.